Okay, everybody's here. I guess we can get started. I'd like to start with a roll call. Time is 6:30. Is that on? Excuse me, is that on? Thank you. We'll start the roll call to my right.
John Panacha. James Connolly.
Steve McKenzie.
Sharon Hassim McLaughlin.
Patty Porter.
Mark Connolly.
Chip Huzzy.
Frank Hansler.
Don Miller. Bob Cresco. We also have a quorum. We're all set for that. Want to approve the minutes? I'll make a motion. Somebody approve the minutes of the last meeting, which was last week. Okay.
Can I have discussion? We have discussion?
No, we have to approve the
I'll
minutes.
make a motion to accept the minutes from last meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? No.
You can have a discussion.
Ken?
Yeah, I can have a discussion on it.
I just wanted to clarify the paragraph concerning the discussion of the budget committee. It's on the second page. Just to clarify that even though the budget committee is not required by the state, it is voted upon by the community and as such is a governing body, and it's been, the budget committee's been voted in the town several, actually it was tried to rescind it several times and it was defeated. So I just wanted to clarify that the budget committee is an oversight committee and not an added bureaucracy that didn't need to be added. That's all.
That's all I want to comment. Anybody else have anything they want to say about this meeting? No? I need a motion to accept the meeting minutes, please.
Table, I'm just gonna ask for a vote.
Okay. All those in favor of accepting
Okay.
the meeting, the minutes, please? Last meeting.
Aye.
Yes, all set. Okay, all's approved.
Can I vote?
Go ahead.
If I'm not the way they're written, I don't approve.
All right, so noted. Okay, we have the first budget right now is the town budget. It's March. You will sit in the hot seat, March.
Yeah, department head hot seat. Secretary has a quick second. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mark.
Now, did you put all the backup in these two? So we have, so we got all the backup on my stuff. And it's pretty much all hard numbers, except for the very beginning is the salaries. I went along with the suggested 2.75 increase, both for my deputy and for myself. Going down, most of these, I went to all the associations and got hard numbers for all the meetings coming up that we all have to attend, support agreements. There's all kinds of stuff in here, clerk works, Tony cartridges. What I put in for a new printer, because the state is no longer going to support and maintain our printers. And when they die, they're going to take them, and we're going to have to buy printers that we print our registrations on. So I put in, hopefully only for one, $600. So I'm just hoping, ours are running fine, but, you know, you just never know. The other thing,
Excuse me, March, what page you on?
I'm on page 8, Don.
Wow. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, and 4.
But that's not me.
That's you, 8.
Okay, page 8. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm halfway down the page.
Yep.
Well, actually, towards the bottom. I want to explain about these signature pads. These are a new thing that we're trying to get through the motor vehicles. I'm on the executive board for the town clerks, and what happens is, like when you go to your doctors or any place, you write one signature. We're trying to get these so that if you have 5 registrations and you have to sign 15 times for us, it's one signature, your signature will print on all your registrations. I have a meeting next month to find out what the status of that is. It won't work for titles because titles have to be signed originally. Title applications have to be signed originally. But I put it in because I'm hoping we can get it because it'll save us a ton of time. I have put in for a fireproof cabinet because we're running out of space. I've bought boxes and boxes of stuff out here that should be in fireproof. In fireproof
One
cabinet.
place in the safe?
Not much. I'll show you tomorrow if you don't budge, but, dog tags I pay for, dump stickers, those are all pretty much, standard tax paper and all that stuff. The records preservation, that's an ongoing thing, and I seriously thought about putting it in as a CIP to the planning board, to put in for $25,000 or $30,000, because that's what it's gonna take to finish what's in that safe.
Yeah.
So I put in for $4,000 every year to get, a book or 2 done. So, it's, it does, they're about $1,000 a book.
Yep.
Those are those big red books and everything is preserved. And that's pretty much it. I don't know, if anybody has any questions or need explanation. I have, and I believe you do too, you have all the backup for everything except for the wage thing.
Yeah, I have a question, John Panaccio of the recording. On the record preservation books, I know we've been doing so many a year. I thought there was a discussion a few years ago, maybe about maybe putting in a warrant article, just get the money and get them done,
Right.
rather than do it once a year.
I got the estimate, and at the time, I can't remember what happened, John, to be honest with you, and I have it in my file somewhere. It's Co-File, who does all the preservations. They also put it on the disc for me too, so I have a CD as well.
I mean, I'd like to see
A warrant article?
a warrant article on that. That way you have the money in there and you can just get them done.
Okay.
This has been going on since I've been around.
Oh, it has,
You know,
and it'll go on long after we're,
yeah. I mean, what I'd like to see is what the cost would be to get it done.
okay.
I don't know if it'd be cheaper to get a better price, and then how long it would
There's a
take.
couple of companies that do it, but Co-File does most of our stuff, and they treat us pretty well. They were Browns River previously, so, yeah, I'll gladly get in touch with them to update this stuff, because they gave it to me like I think when you were on the Sutton, John, I think it was 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I'll get an updated price.
Any other questions for?
In effect, a contracted price.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Just to make sure.
Oh,
that
absolutely,
they can't-
Jamie. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're tough. They're in they're up in Vermont, and they do many of the towns' preservation stuff.
Okay. But I agree with John, I think on one article, we probably that's
Yeah, that's a good idea. Get it done once and for all,
Yeah,
because
I
this
mean,
way
this
it's
has been
piecemeal.
going
It's
on
like
for-
I have a list, and we take the worst ones, the things that'll look the worst, and I have the fellow, the salesman that comes out, he's been doing it for like 30 more years, and take the worst looking books again for it.
No, just a side note, how do they get them up to their?
They come and pick them up,
They come and pick them up.
and
So-
then they're delivered, through the mail or UPS or whatever.
So is there insurance involved in this? I mean,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
should they be insured?
I don't know. Karen, would they be covered under our policy?
Only if they're specifically listed, we would have to have
They
an
do list
inventory.
them. They do list exactly what they take them. And
Just be
and
hard to
exactly
value
what they
it.
send back.
Right.
It would be hard to value it.
Right.
Yeah, it would, because how do you price something like that?
Yes.
I mean, some of them are pretty rough, Jamie. They're really pretty rough.
Okay. Right.
And that's about it. Everything else is stuff we need to do the tax bills. By the way, the tax bills went out on Friday. And we already had people coming in paying them today, so.
People with money.
No, the older folks.
That's what I said, people with money.
Okay.
Like Bob.
No, but.
Like Bob. Yeah, are you coming in tomorrow to see me, Bob?
Still suffering from shock.
Well, a lot of the properties were were undervalued. And so as a result, they brought them up to speed. Karen, what do we figure an equalization rate somewhere around between 90 and 95?
Yeah, we don't have it yet, but it'll probably come in about
94,
94.6-ish.
95. Yeah. So, anyway, so everything is what it should be, and we're in good shape in there. Motor vehicles are busy. I've got probably, I estimated, between motor vehicles and all the other stuff that we do, it's well over $1 million that we can take in this year. I'm expecting probably another, I don't know, 60, 70,000 between now and the end of December. But I never can tell, because if they start selling new cars, we're going to get a lot of money. The only other problem we have, and it's something that we're dealing with, I've been dealing with Dennis Malloy, the trailer bill, the semi-trailer bill. What's happening is a lot of these big companies are taking the semi-trailers and registering in Maine because they can. They don't have to be a resident there. So as a result, one of our residents, just 4 trailers, it cost the town $10,000 because he went to Maine. However, even worse, the registration's up for 5 years, so that's $50,000. So the state is working to try to come to some kind of a compromise, because they come from everywhere to go to Maine. And I think there's one other state in the Midwest, I think, that also does it. So it's hurting us a lot. So, and you can't blame the resident. He said, Marge, instead of costing $1,200, I paid $130.
Well,
How do you justify that? I mean, he's in business to make money.
is it illegal for him to do that?
But there's no teeth in it, John. It is illegal.
All right, so it's illegal.
There's no teeth in it, right, Tom?
It's nothing that we can write.
No.
Okay.
And so it's got to be by law.
Right, so it's kind of by rule
Yeah.
that they're supposed to register in the state they live in, but it's not a law.
It's not a law.
They just use
Like an
it-
enforceable
They're
law.
just using an agent in
No,
Maine.
but it's,
Right, and in Maine, they specifically have a law that says you don't have to be a resident.
Yeah,
That's
just-
right.
It's legal there.
Yeah, you just have to be assigned to an agent, so an agent.
Yeah, they just go up there and
An agent's work
register.
is used, the resident is acting as, the agent is acting as the resident.
Right.
Which is what they're doing.
And
Yeah, I agree.
last week he was in, registered 2 brand new BMW and stuff for his family, his wife. And I said, so you're registering all your trucks in Maine? He said, yeah, I am. So we need to do something, and I may need some support. Dennis Malloy has been awesome helping. He even went to motor vehicles last year. We defeated it last year, but they're bringing it back again. So we're just going to have to keep working on it and do what we can do, because that's quite a loss of revenue.
Does that apply for cars?
No cars, no, can't do that, no. Semi.
If I see you driving around with a Maine plate, first thing is hot.
No.
Not a significant amount then.
No, I think let's see, I leaned in June, 72,000 out of 13 million, that's not too bad. I keep after people, I send out notices every month, and of course now with the taxes out, I'll wait until,
So it doesn't sound like it impacts our budget then?
not really. I'm not really. People are really good. We're very lucky in our town. There are folks there's certain ones that are always the same, and there's nothing you can do. And I call them and say, come see me. So.
Any other questions? More questions? Okay. Thank you, Marge.
You're welcome.
Next up is going to be the police department, please, Tara. Front center.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that. Department head hot seat, nice. Did you make that
Is that what
yourself?
it says?
Mhm. So, I'll pass down some. Obviously, you guys already have it. You've already have one.
Thank you.
It just is a little more detailed information than what's in the in Karen's breakdown. Yeah. I thought you meant that I probably shouldn't be. So the police department budget is pretty straightforward. When I went to the selectmen, it included a school resource officer, which through our discussions, we decided was better placed as a warrant article. So that has been removed from my budget. I will be recommending it for a warrant article with support of the Board of Selectmen. If you want me to get into my reasoning for that, for the warrant article, I'd be more than happy to. But with regard to the rest of my budget, there's a couple of increases that I wanted to go over. If you have questions about any of the normal run-of-the-mill things, then I'd be happy to answer about that. But the biggest line item increase is under the wages. So what I did this year, since I've been chief of Greenland, which has been about 6.5 years, every year we get an umbrella percentage raise if someone gets something across the entire town. So I wanted to see, I hear from my officers all the time, well, so-and-so makes this, so-and-so makes that, and it's just hard to determine if that's accurate or not from surrounding agencies. So I undertook the job of doing a statewide wage survey for police for all the positions that are full-time. And I broke it down, I went across the state, I broke it down by county, and then I broke it down by region. And if you look at page 6, that kind of summarizes where Greenland stands. So basically I took the position, which is, patrol, sergeant, detective, whatever the rank happens to be, how many years on they were, and then I asked that across the state. So I was pretty lucky. Across the state, I was able to get 86% of the state, I believe. The county was 89%, and then I got 95% of the Seacoast region. So what you'll see there is obviously our pay versus the average of that position, and in red is the state, in purple is the county, and in blue is the region. And then what the percentage differences is, obviously it's different for every position. Are you able to find the tip? Yeah, and in the books I did for the selectmen, they were blue, but it's white in everyone else's. So obviously, the reason I did the state is to include up north and everywhere else. You'll see that we're still fairly behind even throughout the state. However, I think what's most important, obviously, is the region. The people that are recruiting our officers are the surrounding towns. So Stratham's hiring, Rye's hiring, Newington's hiring, and they're coming to try and take our officers because their officers know them, they know how they work, they hear them on the radio, they know what kind of officer they're getting. Unfortunately, that's the time that we're in, is that it's really, really hard to find people. The last 2 hires that I've had, I've taken from other departments, not right around here, but that's what we try and do, is we try and recruit someone that's certified and that we know is good and proven, and we kind of know what they're about, and then we try and get a good fit. So several of my people have been recruited as of late. And by looking at this, it gives me an idea of why, because what I was looking for in these is we're looking at the average. So if someone is, 16.75 behind the average, that's a real problem. Even the people that are 3% behind the average, because we're looking at the 50th percentile. I'm not looking for the officers to be at the 70th or 75th percentile for the region. I want them to be, at the average. So I took the region amount and I put it in. You'll see that the county amount would be higher. I'm not looking for the higher. What I'm looking for is to have some sort of leverage with my people to say, listen, I want to get you where you belong to start with, and then hopefully we can keep in the general vicinity by normal raises or COLAs or whatever percentages happen to be of any given year. So the overall, as you'll see down there, is $48,076 for everybody in the police department. if I lose somebody, the cost is around $150,000. Because it's overtime from the time the person leaves. Our average turnaround time to hire somebody is upwards between 9 months and a year. And then unfortunately, even if I get someone certified, there's training for Greenland Police Department, which the FTO period is 12 to 16 weeks. In addition to outfitting them, uniforms, guns, hats, everything that we have. So your average cost is about $150,000 by the time that's all said and done. If I get someone green, that can push $200,000 because the academy is 16 weeks now. So and you're looking at a lot longer before they are completely. They can be on their own with another officer working, but until they're up to speed so that they can be left alone in the town is considerably longer, obviously. So that's my push for everyone. Everyone obviously would be at a different percentage, completely objective. I didn't want it to be, I think this guy should be making more. I think this person should, because of who they are. It's really 100% about the position, and, it brings them to where I think is I'm able to keep them with training and with the environment and the culture of the department and things like that. So that's my push to try and keep the officers that we have. We have page 2 is who we have and how long they've been here and how much experience they have. Yes, we have 2 newer officers. The 4 full-time years, those are the 2 that I poached from elsewhere as of late. But the rest of them, you'll see we have significant amounts of time on. This is experience that I can't emphasize enough. I think that we have some of the best officers in the state. I feel very lucky that they're here, that they're dedicated, and I think they do a fantastic job. It is super rare to get a complaint on one of my officers.
When's the last time you had to replace anybody?
Dawn that retired.
That's the last one.
That's the last one. And then the other semi-newer person was because we added the officer. Yep. And that was 2 years ago. We added an 8th officer. Other than that, we've kept people for quite a while. So we have some good experience. I really can't say enough about wanting to keep them and not trying to find somebody or lowering our standards. Right now, emergency services in general, I'm sure that you've heard from the fire department at some point. It is so hard to find good help in emergency services in general. It's really difficult. When I applied to be a police officer 20 years ago, there was 100 people that applied for 2 positions. And now if we get 15 applicants, we're lucky, and quite honestly, probably 14 of those wouldn't pass a background because the standards are just very different now. And
They're afraid to get shot at.
Maybe.
Look around the nation.
Yeah, well, that's another problem that we have against the school resource officer. Let me point out just a couple of the other increases, and then you guys can ask any questions that you want. If you go to page 15 in my book, which is page 30, it's Karen's type of format. Under new equipment is a $15,000 increase. That's for a conversion to LED lighting. So each part of the town, the fire department, the town hall, and the police department, each have a separate amount. There was brief talk during the Board of Selectmen of putting that into a warrant article as the town for LED lighting, or for leaving it in each budget, but making sure it was specific to just be held for that purpose, to make sure the LED lighting was done. I'm really open to anything. That to me it's a long-term savings thing. Karen did all the research on that, so to me that's kind of a town decision. So it's up to you guys on that. And the other increase would be to my equipment repair. And that's just because of technology. We're replacing a computer and a tablet every year. And that, obviously, it's different officers, but because technology goes by so quickly and advances. Instead of making one big fell swoop of a change to tablets or computers, we're doing one per year.
And can you do cars?
The cars come out of the revolving fund. They're in great shape. We've been doing really good with spreading out the mileage on them. I did call to place an order the other day, and for some reason Ford is really backlogged, so ordering now means I might get it in July. So that's where we stand for the next one, but we're in good shape right now. As long as we don't have any catastrophic things, we're up to full staff when it comes to the equipment. If you have questions on any of the normal line items, I'd be happy to answer, or any questions about.
Any grants?
We did apply for our normal grants, which is the enforcement grants, DWI and speed and distracted driving. That has taken a huge nosedive in the amount that nationally we're getting. So we did get them, but we only got about 8,000, and we've gotten in past years up to 22,000. So obviously, those grants just mean, the lack of grants means we're gonna have to increase our proactive activity on duty. And just make sure that we're doing that, because as soon as we reduce the number of stops, you'll see the accidents go up, especially on Route 33. I mean, Route 33 has become quite a challenge.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely, John.
On the LED lighting, I think I expressed the way I feel that there should be a warrant article.
That was you, okay. I couldn't remember who it
And
was.
there's a reason for that. The reason is that it's a way to make sure that the money is spent on
that.
Yep. And I understand there could be a possibility that we get voted down, although I don't think it will, as long as the proper information is. So that's what my thought is, is that it should be a warrant article. People know what's going on. They know what the savings is. Plus, it has to be used for that, which is the same as your vest.
Yep.
Which I think we specifically set up a warrant article strictly for the vest will get used.
Yes.
So that's my thought. I think it should be a warrant article.
I have no problem with that.
The other thing too is, I was going through your wages. By the way, thank you so much for doing this, because it allowed me to take a look at things a little bit more clearer. By the way, I like all the officers. I think you have a great crew.
I do.
So what I ask you is just to kind of get some
Oh, that's
information.
fine. Yep.
Okay, so one thing on the details, and I know in the town report on the details, that it does have a fund balance that says, what I would like to see is,
Are you talking about the revolving account?
yeah,
Okay.
what I would like to see is, at least this year and on an annual basis, I'd like to see a profit and loss on that, say, all right, how much are we making? How
Yep.
much is it costing us? And what are we netting on that?
I've had that in past years, and I just didn't have time to get the year-to-date running, but I can get it to you
And
this
then,
week.
kind of also who's doing, I know on the town report, it identifies the officers that are
Yep.
doing the details. So I
Yep.
think it's good financial information, so if anybody asks about what the detailed amounts are, what the benefit of that is, that's the benefit of having that statement, which is basically, to me, it's a profit and loss statement.
Yes.
What our revenues are.
So you're not
what our
asking
expenses-
for specific officers?
No, because I
Okay.
get that in the
All
town
right.
report.
Okay. Yes.
But I do have a
Yep.
question on that.
Sure.
Okay, I was going through the list, and this is 2017.
Okay,
And we do have four part-time officers,
we do.
and I noticed that most of those part-time officers, most of the work that they're doing, at least in 2017, are details,
Yes.
which I'm okay with.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's, as long as, they're making money, we're making money.
We make a lot more
We
from
make
part-time
a lot.
officers
So, which is,
than full-time officers
Yes.
for details.
and from a part-time basis, I see very little of them actually working regular shifts, at least from the dollars.
Yep.
So is there a reason why they're not working, from an overtime, and I'm looking at it from an overtime perspective, because I
Right.
think part-time officers are there for a particular reason, to cover for people if they're not there.
Right.
So is there any reason why I'm not seeing a lot more of that going on? I might have just not seen it right.
Yes and no. It depends on the season, and it depends on the part-time officer, and it depends on where we stand. So 2017 was a little weird because we, a couple of the part-timers stayed the same, but obviously Dawn transitioned from full-time to part-time She is now transitioning to part-time non-officer. She's gonna be there really for just computer support. So she didn't qualify this year. We're not gonna use her as an officer. But, that being said, there are some officers that have been out long enough that they don't feel comfortable on the road by themselves in case there's a domestic, something like that. There's still a value to me because I need secondary officers quite often. As long as they have backup, they feel more comfortable. So I do allow that with one of the officers. Another one works part-time because he was full-time in Rye. He is used over there for those regular shifts, so we kind of get the leftovers. But he's full-time certified and he's been part-time for us for so many years that all it is an advantage for us. You know what I mean? To get them when we can. It's hard with part-timers because you can't order them. They are, luckily I have 3 of them are full-time certified. So they're full-time officers, they're retired now. So they'll fill in if someone's sick and I really need them. But if it's when they're left to sign up for it, they want to sign up for daytime, which is usually not when we have a shift open, because they have me there or the lieutenant there and we cover. So that's where they take the details instead. So when we need them, we use them, but you can't order them.
No, so you think it's a reasonable offset? I know they do a lot of details, and I know
Yep.
we certainly benefit from that, which is why I like to see that statement.
Right.
Anything else statement.
And we benefit from when we really need them, they'll help us. Yep.
Okay.
In a storm, they help us. They're here at National Night Out. They're, if we're in a jam, they help us. But if someone calls in sick for a midnight shift, I'm never gonna get one of them to volunteer.
So they're not really being used to offset overtime if somebody, only if you're sick, or otherwise you'll use a regular offset for overtime.
Right,
Okay.
90% of the time.
All right. The other thing when you did the wage study, and I think you did a pretty thorough job, my question is on the wage study, is I look at opportunities, okay, and I see that generally the officers do pretty well with details, and they do pretty well with overtime. What do you think?
Meaning, they do pretty well, meaning,
No, from a wage standpoint.
like if they wanted to work
they can
them.
They're almost in some cases doubling this out based on, not quite doubling, but they're making a pretty substantial amount over their normal wages. I'm not saying that's bad, I'm just saying.
No, I would like to agree with you. I think in past years, that's true, especially with 2 of them, that's dropped right off. So, is the opportunity there if they wanted to work, our maximum that we can do, which is 16 hours on, you have to have 8 hours off. You have to in order to be able to work. If they worked that all the time, they could make a lot of money. I just don't know anyone that wants to work that much.
No, I understand. So, when you looked at the wage study, did you look at what some of these comparable officers make, even though the salaries may be more, but are they making less than our officers who are working more overtime, or they're working a significant amount of details?
I don't think I understand the question.
So if you have somebody, say, for example, we have one officer in total salary, his salary for 2017 was $50,000. I'm just kind
Okay.
of throwing this stuff out there. Okay, overtime, he made $19,000.
Okay.
Details, so he had total $72,000.
Okay,
Okay, if they went somewhere else
yep.
and the salary was consistent, they got their normal raises, would they have the same opportunities
Oh,
to make more money in some of these places that you used in your study?
I used every place, so some of them yes and some of them no.
Okay.
However, I did it by base pay because I can't compare if someone works, let's say 4,000 hours a year, because they were able to get details and overtime, and compare it to what someone makes in 2,000 hours a year, because it's the per hour. The opportunity is great to have there, but to work that much extra to have to make ends meet doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Yeah, I can make 70 and Stratum can make 70, but if I'm working, 60 hours a week and he's working 40, of course I'm gonna go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I mean, but I don't see any of these people if they make more, and I'm not saying you shouldn't raise it, I'm just kind of throwing this out there because I know that if somebody wants to go somewhere, I know if I'm a person and I'm gonna make a low salary, but I have an opportunity to make a huge bonus bigger than the other company, I'm going to the new place.
If it was a bonus, you're absolutely
Well,
right.
I'm just saying.
If I had the opportunity to work, there's not many people anymore that are choosing to work. I can't even say 80 hours a week because you're not allowed to, but let's say 60. There's not many people that are going to choose to work 60 hours a week to make, let's say, $10,000 more versus 40 hours a week to make $10,000 less.
So the next question final question is from if they get the pay raise, okay, and I'm not against that, by the way. From a base pay standpoint, I think what you did is perfectly okay.
Okay.
So what happens when I get old? Okay, are they gonna
I'm trying to
work
follow.
older? He's the old one. But anyway, do you expect them to, if they make more, they're gonna work less details?
No,
Okay.
no. Because like I said, 2 or 3 years ago, we had people working a ton of details. I don't know if it's, I hate to say that it might be age or young kids or what it is. People work details, but it's reasonable. They'll try and pick up a detail, 8 hours a week, except for the part-timers that work, because they aren't working elsewhere.
But you see no negative impact on the town when it comes to details?
Oh, gosh, no.
Okay. So
No. We in Greenland, because historically they've been willing to work, we're on lists as far as Deerfield and different places. So if people want the money and they are willing to go seek it out and work it, then they can. But I don't think we'll ever be lowering on details.
Okay.
Is there any way to measure how many overtime hours, like Rye had last year, or you know what I mean? How many overtime hours Rye's officers worked in a year, or Stratum's officers worked in a year versus what our officers worked in a year? I guess along John's lines, is the overtime opportunity available in those other things?
But see, the problem is it's going to depend. Like, for example, I took one of the officers, John Sardina, from Nottingham, and they had been down 2 officers for 2 years, so they were being forced to work 12-hour shifts, 12 on, 12 off, 12 on, and then they'd have like a day off and then go back into it. So the comparison is really difficult in that way, in that Stratum, Rye, Newington, they're all down officers right now. So the overtime's going to be substantially more right now.
Okay.
However, if they're up to full staff, you know what I mean, that to me would be a fair comparison.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't know.
And the number of officers you have, because for instance, we just went up to 8, but when we had 7, if one person was sick, we had to cover it because it was single coverage. So there was no way. With 8 officers, we have some double coverage times now, so that if someone calls out sick, we can have someone just slide over and we go down to single coverage. So it really, it's just such a changing animal all the time. I would say just anecdotally, we have about the same as other towns when they're up to full staff.
Okay.
We don't cover anything we don't have to, and our percentage coverage rate is we only cover about 32% of what people take off or are off when they're in training, when they're sick, when they're on vacation. We only cover about 32% because, like myself or the lieutenant will cover during day shift, or like I said, we'll go down to single coverage, or we'll do whatever it takes to try and reduce that overtime amount. The challenge comes in that my people are senior, and so they each have 4 weeks of vacation, which I try to get them to actually use because we want them to have the downtime. And then when people are sick and we really want them trained, so that stuff starts playing into it. But, the other departments around us are doing exactly the same thing.
Two questions.
Yes, sir.
what does the town get for the vehicles on a, rookie deal?
$15 an hour,
$15 an hour?
yes.
Is that,
Oh, it more than covers the maintenance and the
Does?
gas and, more than covers it. Which is why we're able to buy our cars out of that fund. It's based almost exclusively on that $15 an hour. And then obviously we have admin costs, so that goes toward, or it goes into the general fund. But the idea is to offset Liz's time and Eli's time in processing invoices and things like that.
second question, I noticed that in your building maintenance, you have an increase of $16,000. Why?
Yeah, that's the LED lighting.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. So if that went away to
Cool.
a warrant article or whatever, that, like I said, would be fine by me. I just want to keep up with the town as far as the savings that we want to recognize. Quite honestly, the electricity for the police department actually falls under Karen's budget. So, that would be, the savings would be seen in her budget ultimately.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Mark.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
over the last 3 to 4 years, how much variance has there been in miles driven by the police department? And do you expect a significant increase this year, and if so, what?
The miles driven, I would have to go back and look at each year. When I budget, I just use the previous year's mileage. Sometimes that goes up, obviously, depending on location of details, location of training. The patrols around here are usually pretty consistent. So I guess it's kind of a moving target, but I would expect it to be in a certain
Same
range.
ballpark?
I think really the unknown is, the gas prices.
Okay, so when you figured your gasoline oil usage this year,
Yes.
what was the difference between the price you used to calculate last year's budget versus this year's budget?
It was higher this year. I can't remember what I used last year. I know that it was higher this year. Based on what I do is I use the forecast that they had for this next year, and then I usually go up 20 cents. The way it works right now is the state is locked in. I think it's through either October or November of 2019. Pretty low. I think it's at $2 and, did I note it in here?
Yeah, that was the 286.
Yeah,
That's
that's
high.
No, it's less than that.
Is gas
208
going
to
down?
213.
Okay, so the problem is, with that, is they took away our where we gassed up in Northampton. So the next closest place is we have Hampton or Epping. I'm more than happy to use that, except that, I calculated the mileage to and from, but in addition to that, if it's single coverage, having that person so far out of town, isn't ideal. So I added some in to equate for that. So I basically came out at $3 a gallon. We still buy it locally in town at the TA or at Cumberland Farms, because we have a card that takes off the taxes. And if it gets above that, then we make the trip to Hampton or Epping.
What's the cost there?
Of making the trip,
Is it worth it?
I have it. It isn't until we get to that $3 an hour mark. Because, the mileage, the time, versus the cost, I mean,
Wear and tear.
yeah, if there's two people on, I don't feel as uncomfortable, with the time, but
Can you use anybody that you want?
pretty much. We have what's called a WEX card. So that card is accepted, as far as I know, at just about everyone around here. The Sunoco, the TA, over in Stratham, there's a couple that use it. So the advantage of the WEX card is we don't have to file to get the taxes taken off. It takes it off immediately, and the bill we get is minus the taxes. Taxes are about 40 to 45 cents per gallon, as far as what we get taken off the excise taxes. So that's a pretty good thing until, you know, a company starts raising high, but, you know, the TA is usually pretty low, so we play that game.
Because I got gas this morning for $2.52.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Where?
That's real good.
BJ's.
251 on Lafayette.
We don't have, and where?
There you go.
On Lafayette Road, 251.
On WEX, does WEX give you, I know you can go in the Cumberland Farms and they do accept the WEX card.
Yeah,
Do they give you a discounted price? I know they're not necessarily gonna charge you, but how
no.
much, what do they give you?
They just give you the taxes off. So what we see up there minus the taxes, which like I said, is between 40, 45, they don't give us that 10-cent thing or any of that other stuff either.
Have you talked to them about that?
Well, if we filed our own, to reduce our own taxes, then we could do that. But we'd only be saying 10 cents a gallon, and the amount of time that it takes to add up all the gallons and the tax, I think it would be more than that, I think.
Well, you're probably just not a high enough volume to make it worthwhile for them to do that.
Right, if it was something huge, like, you know, Portsmouth, then maybe they could work something out like that.
This 286 then, is that net of the, net of the taxes?
Yes,
So,
yes.
so it turns out to be like 320 and 330 something.
Well, when we see, I tell the officers, when they see 3 up there, that's when we start going to Hampton or Epping.
Right, but
But yes, as far as, yes, that is accurate.
So 286 is less than taxes.
It's 286, and then the taxes would be taken off of that.
Okay, so it's actually less than 286 then, so you,
What we pay is less than 286.
yeah, okay, so is this what what was the budget figure on 286?
It's on 286, but we'll be getting it in Greenland until it's 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just saying that you said in taxes were not included in that 286. Seems kind of high, because I don't think.
No, 286, and then we get the taxes taken off. I'm sorry.
So you should.
So not net.
So you should actually
Not net.
calculate that less taxes, though, shouldn't you? 286 includes the taxes, so when you calculate your gallonage, okay, if you use the WEX card or Hampton, Southampton, whatever it is, none of those include the taxes. So 286 should not include the taxes. So it should be, the federal is what, 24.4 and the state is what, 23?
For cents per gallon? Yeah.
So you should.
It depends. It
so that should
fluctuates
be
a little bit.
deducted from that, shouldn't it?
it'd be like 245.
Yeah.
It does sound like.
Sounds good.
No, it is.
I don't know. I put a lot of thought
You should
into
not,
it, so
you
it
should not
seems
include the
like.
taxes in there. You're not gonna get billed the taxes, so you shouldn't include it. WEX is not including the taxes.
Is that the current price, 286, what you're saying? Are you assuming that it's probably gonna?
Not right now. That's what we're assuming goes up. Yes, after, yeah. For,
I go like.
Well, it's not gonna go through. I know, but you call it 286, you call it 252. Yeah, you should calculate it less the taxes.
that
Because
seems right.
Hampton does
That
not
seems right.
include, Hampton does not include the taxes.
Hampton doesn't include the taxes.
Because they buy
because
it
it's-
tax free.
Right, from the state, yeah.
Okay, so
because
when you
it's
get
state.
billed by WEX,
Right.
okay, you're
I
not
get billed
being
minus the taxes.
minus the taxes. So if the retail price is 286,
Right.
then you're not getting billed 286.
Now
You're
I'm
getting billed
like 240
40 something, and that's what
yeah.
you should be calculating your gallons on. Okay, does that make sense?
Take a look at that. It does make sense, but for some reason I
We calculate it.
thought of that, but.
To see what happens.
Yes, yes.
But you said Hampton is closing, is that correct? Did I hear that?
No,
correctly?
Northampton closed.
Northampton closed.
Because that was fairly close,
Okay.
because it was just out Post Road.
So you have Hampton
And
and
then on 11.
Epping as your alternatives?
Yeah.
So you still have Hampton?
Yes.
Okay,
Hampton unfortunately is down there off of 95,
okay.
you know. But it's not as bad as it could be, I guess.
Yeah, if you would, we could
Yeah.
calculate that and let us know.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
I will.
By the way,
That sounds correct.
That's right. You gotta reduce the taxes, trust me. I did that for 30
Well, John, I do trust you.
Trust me. That was a
Absolutely.
good question, by the way.
Always.
I didn't pick that up.
There you go.
You're trying to pad
That's
the
what I'm
budget.
thinking.
You're
I'm
trying
not
to pad the
sure.
budget.
I always try and cut them off. No, of course not. I'm gonna have to get the exact amount of the excise tax right now too. Because I know it's between 40 and 45 cents, but I'm not sure where it stands.
any other questions for
That
Chief?
is a good question. Thank you, Mark.
You're too good.
sorry, Mark.
$2,000 a year.
Yeah, it saves something.
Chief, what did we spend on building equipment this year that either cost us more or we didn't expect to spend when we made the budget last year?
The building equipment was
New equipment.
new
Oh,
equipment?
no.
No, I think it was
which
built.
slide am I
Oh,
I'm not sure.
on?
what page you want, Mark?
Page 29 and 30.
Okay, yeah, all right, gotcha.
B14 and yeah, 14 in the blue book.
Okay, so you're looking at
Yeah, new
building
equipment,
maintenance?
line 224.
Well, new
Okay,
equipment, 14.
New-
New equipment, yeah.
You went way down.
Yeah.
Went from 9,000 to 1,500.
Right, but what I'm asking about what happened this year. The budget was 6809, and so far this year, we've spent over $9,000. So I'm wondering what
Oh,
wrong.
okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'd have to look at that. I'm trying to think of any new equipment that we got that was not planned for.
Best.
We got the best, but that was out of the revolving warrant article.
Okay, what about a Taser?
We always budget for a taser. We got that.
Gym equipment?
Gym equipment came out of our drug forfeiture money.
That's right.
And my next question in that same area is, so we're budgeting 1,500 this year. Is that something
Yes.
specifically we're looking to buy?
Yes, that's taser. We get a new taser every year because they have a 5-year lifespan.
Yep.
We kind of using this one. Look over
Can you remember? Was it your server? Did you get the server this year?
I don't think we got a server in it this year.
capital equipment.
And
Reform equipment?
another follow-up question.
I don't think so.
Guns?
I didn't get new guns.
We're, so far this year, we're significantly underspent in building maintenance. Are there more bills that come in? What's happening there?
Building maintenance, yes, there is. I have to pay off, hopefully when it gets certified, knock on wood, is the lift. I can't tell you that amount. I could tell you that amount. I'd have to check and see what the balance is
Or is it
on
going to
that.
be $20,000?
It really shouldn't be.
I think it was-
I thought the balance,
There's only about 11,000 left in that budget.
right. So
As of now, as of today.
right,
But when the books came out, there was a roughly $22,000 difference.
right, but there's 11,000 left because I owe the second half of the lift. I'm just not sure how much.
Okay. The reason for my question is I'm always concerned under certain things that are budgeted like that. When we don't do something that we thought we were going to do last year, and then it comes back to hit us in the future, so we double budget for things. So that's the reason for that question.
Yeah, there's nothing double budgeted for the building maintenance. We, once the lift is completed, the building's in pretty good shape except for we're planning on a CIP for the roof.
Okay.
There's nothing that we're forgetting to do this year.
Okay.
Because the building has been in pretty good shape after the last couple of years. We've really taken care of it. So, we had new door frames, we finished the upstairs, all that stuff. But the lift is my Achilles heel.
How old is that building?
It's actually 15 years old now, 16 years old now. So we're thinking of the roof and another, I think it was 5 years that we wanted to at least start having enough money so that if that starts happening, there's some wear on it, but nothing's curling or anything like that. So,
But you brought the lift up.
Yep.
The lift, you said, oh, I know where
we can't because it wasn't certified. It is ready to be certified as we speak. We're waiting for the elevator inspector to come back out. It has been a weird journey with the lift. Yeah.
I have one more question. If I
Yes,
may.
sir, of course.
Under equipment repair. So to
Yes.
me, That's a significant increase in what we're requesting. Now, you stated the reason it's that high is because of technology replacement of a computer and a tablet.
Yes,
Have we been replacing computers and tablets the last couple of years?
not yearly, no.
So last year we didn't.
Last year, I don't,
Because
last
if
year we
they
did
had-
get one, yep.
Okay, we
We got
did.
one
We did.
computer last, yes, just like literally probably 2 weeks ago.
So my thought process is that if the budget, if we're requesting that much more, and the reason we're requesting is to buy a computer and a tablet, which we did last year also, where's this extra money coming from? We bought it last year, so within last year's budget, why do we need $2,000 more in this year's budget?
It wasn't in last year's budget. The equipment repair is obviously a kind of a moving target, where, what we're usually hit with unfortunately is things with the generator, things with the fire alarm system tend to cost us a lot of money. Obviously, HVAC equipment, our mini splits, it just goes on and on. So when it got toward the end of the year, this year, 2 weeks ago, I ordered the new computer so that everybody has their own. We had 2 people sharing because we had just added the officer.
And that hasn't shown on our expenditures, what we see for our expenditures this
No.
year, is that true?
No, it wouldn't.
No, I haven't got that bill yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Right.
But the computers and the tablets are aging at such a rate that, for instance, the computer we have in our booking room is, I think, it was from well before when I was there. So the just fix it as it breaks isn't working for us anymore because technology is just moving so quickly. So that's why I added those 2 things in there. The tablets, there's 8 tablets, 1 for each officer. That's what they use in the cruisers when they're on the road. Then obviously everyone has a desktop, which by the way are like this size now. It's very cool.
Technology.
Yeah, yeah.
All set, Mark?
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for the chief while she's here?
Yep, four questions.
Yep.
Three quick ones.
Yep.
LED lighting, do you have are the rebates available?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so you get some, so will it pay for itself, or?
It'll pay for itself in 3.5 years.
Okay.
The rebate is about 40%. It's the
I saw
same
the
program.
note for 3.5 years, I thought that was just efficiency gains, not.
No,
rebate.
and the backup is in your book, actually, in my stuff. We did it with the street lighting this past year, and
Okay,
have seen an amazing savings.
all right. Does it look like your total budget's 12% increase? Is that right?
No.
I was looking
No.
at page 33. Fiscal year 907 to 809.
Oh, 907, oh, sure.
It says 12%.
Oh, no,
No,
Is that right?
no. The 907 is an incorrect number. That is with the SRO. The number is actually 856,190. So the increase over last year is
4.5.
4.5.
Thanks. The total, is total, I see all the wages in here, but where's total comp? Where are the benefits?
That falls in a different line item.
Right.
That's under.
If you look in the town budget, page 31,
So do we know what the percentage of total comp would be
yes,
versus wages?
yes. If you look on page 31
Page 31, still
of
in
the town
police
budget,
section.
there's a box on the bottom that says benefit costs.
Although this is with the SRO as well, right, Karen?
No, it's taken the SRO back out.
See, benefit, yeah, right there.
$499.
Yep,
So it was 495 with the SRO and it went to 499?
because then I got my health insurance rates
Oh,
in.
the actual rates.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good to know. 499.
But that is all under personnel management.
Yeah, so that doesn't fall in my budget, that falls under, they put it all together of all the personnel. That line item.
Can I follow up on that LED? When I'm looking at that backup sheet, it has the net amount of 10,000, budget of 15.
Yep.
I mean, rebate, so it's 4,800.
Yep.
Is that an absolute guarantee that we would get that rebate back?
Yes.
Okay, so shouldn't we budget 10?
No, but the New Hampshire budget law requires us to gross budget and show the revenue
Okay,
on a separate sheet.
all right. Okay, so that would be treated as revenue? Okay, cool, all right.
Last question from me. sorry, I lost you a little bit on your wages. So you took the 5-year average
Of each position of their timeline.
5-year average of what, the years in Greenland?
No, 5-year average, for, and you can kind of see it, I'm sorry, pages 7, 8, and 9 kind of show you a little bit. So we didn't just compare a 1-year person with 1-year person. We compared 1 through 5
Okay.
with a 1 person, and then 6 through 10.
Compared
and then
against who, the whole
against
state?
whoever's in there. So if a Greenland officer's been on for 4 years,
Yeah.
we compared them with the average of all officers between 1 and 5.
That have put in, I see that, have put in that amount of experience.
Yes,
Yeah, I got
1
you.
and 5 years of experience.
Across the state, though?
Across the state. Across the state, across the county, and across the region.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. I think comparing against Rockingham would have been fair because we tend to be probably up against Rockingham, other Rockingham communities, right?
Yes, we are. However, I felt that the people that are trying to recruit are the ones right in here. We have the advantage of the seacoast. So that literally brings, I can bring people, the guy I got from Nottingham, I mean, who doesn't want to live more in the seacoast?
Yeah.
So, where, yes, I don't have many people from Derry coming to recruit my people, even though they probably pay more. It's because we have the advantage of the seacoast, so that's why I chose the seacoast more than the county. But to be completely fair, of course, if someone offers you a $6,000 raise, you'll go to Derry, or you know what I mean, or $10,000 or whatever it happens to be.
You think the numbers are high, though? I think the wage numbers are high, though, if you take into consideration the big cities. If you're doing it against the whole state, now you're talking about adding police officers from Manchester, Portsmouth, Concord.
You are, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's high because you have way more small towns than you have big cities. So let's say a Portsmouth officer with 5 years is only on there once. But the Northwood officer with 5 years, the Nottingham officer with 5 years, the Raymond officer with 5, those are in there each once.
Yeah.
So it's really weighted more towards small town than it is the big cities, because you only have, maybe 6 or 7 that I would even consider big.
Okay.
You know, Nashua, Salem,
Manchester was a big police force, though.
they have a huge police force, yeah, just under 200, maybe.
200 odds. I
Right.
thought it was bigger.
No.
Okay.
I mean, that's as big as New Hampshire gets. It is still New Hampshire, but so, you offset with there's many departments, like up north with the state, that have like 2 officers, maybe 3. So, I felt like it's a pretty fair representation. I also considered the mean of each of those, so I took out the high and the low on several of them, and usually that amount would actually be higher, so,
Thanks, Chief.
yeah.
All set, Rand?
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. Anybody else? While we have it here? No?
I'm sorry to take so long, but
It's okay.
honestly, if you have any
Explain what we're
questions,
looking for.
yeah. if you have
Thank
any
you very much,
questions.
Karen, for your time.
And I will get back to you on the
Yes.
gas price
Go on.
and, what was I supposed to look up for you?
Oh, the
Mileage.
detail, profit and loss on that?
Oh, right, that's what it was. That's what it was.
On the gas, by the way.
I'll get both of those.
It's 18.4 for the federal, and I believe it's 23 for the state, or 22, so that's what that is.
4 and
So those
22,
would
22
be-
even?
Well, I've gone to 2 places, I've been not doing this for a year and a half.
Right,
So I
Yeah,
would,
different
probably
amounts.
23, so it just,
Okay.
they have an environmental tax in there as well, but
Yes,
I don't
they
know if they take that off or not.
No, they stick.
Huh?
Environmental
the
stuff.
environmental sticks,
Yeah, so you just.
I'll double check on that,
probably
just with
23.
WEC.
You'll have fun for it.
Because they break it out for you, which is nice. They tell you exactly what of the state, and all that stuff. So I'll get you that figure, the hard figure, okay?
Okay, so,
All right,
Thank
Thanks for
you.
working with that on the resource officer.
oh gosh, absolutely, absolutely,
Um,
my pleasure.
The next is the building inspector.
He's not coming.
here. So we're gonna go right to the library. Denise? Please.
What are we skipping?
The building inspector's budget was flat and you didn't have the need to.
Welcome, please.
Library is page 61.
Under recreation and culture. So the budget that we submitted, was flat. We, followed the selectmen's guideline with the pay increases. So we went with 2.75. I'm looking at a page that looks like this. Yeah, she's looking at further
Which are the
along.
pages?
That would be beyond that, just so you know, I'm looking at the same page. Look at 60.
No, it's not named that.
No, they're not.
So, for the default budget, there's no increase in the town appropriation. It's just keeping it flat, keeping like they're running. We aren't adding any new staff at this time. No new, moving anybody into full-time. No new services, just maintaining the status quo. I will be doing probably a couple more computers this year. Other than that,
Well, I got a question for you, Denise.
Mhm.
Retirement,
Yeah.
who's that for?
Susan, the assistant director, and myself,
That's for two of you.
for two.
Okay, no. How many hours does Sue work?
40 hours.
40 hours.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Do you have any projections on what your budget will look like with the extension?
I expect electricity, all the utilities to increase. I'm hoping to maintain staff as much as possible. Saturdays, we may need to add a person, and we may need to look at how we're staffing during the week to make that happen, or we may need to add hours. Because currently, I only staff with 2 people on Saturdays, and I don't see doing that with a larger building.
Would you have any, like, have you guys run any numbers yet as to what those utilities may be increasing, maybe anything like that?
No, we haven't done
There-
anything.
There's no way at this point to figure that. I can always ask our architect if there's any way for him to look at that.
Excuse me, can you state your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Marcia McLaughlin, Chair of the Library Trustees.
Thank you.
So I got a question, I'm sorry. Did you increase the percentage, and did we increase that percentage to 275? It's 217 on here, or is it just,
The Board of Selectmen recommended 2.75. The 217 shows the way she calculates hers by exact weeks.
okay, that equates to 275?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Okay, the other question I have, okay, so we're building a library, we're building an extension, but we have not done any estimates on the expenses to maintain that library or to staff that library. We haven't done any of that. Why would we not be able to do that? Because you should have a pretty good idea of your programs you're going to be implementing, right?
Correct.
Okay,
And
so why wouldn't we have done that already?
my coverage for the desk will require additional hours, either rescheduling people or hiring a person for Saturday. Other than that, I expect to be able to do most of the programming either through volunteers.
Is that in the budget, as soon as it's going to get built?
No, that's not budgeted.
So what happens, I guess, I'm kind of mystified that we would not have at least divulged on what those expenses are, added expenses. I don't know why we wouldn't, I don't know if anybody ever asked you that. So, I mean, I'd like to get an idea what the projected costs are gonna be with the addition.
But when's the addition supposed to be scheduled to be completed?
God knows.
Do you know?
A year and a half after we begin construction.
So, I mean, we're probably 2 years out, John. Why are you
Yeah,
asking
suppose
now?
You're building a building, and we decided that it's gonna be used for certain programs. I don't think we're gonna make up the programs as we go along, I would hope not. So they can at least do a projection of what the added cost is gonna be, whether it's 2 years out or 1 year out, just so we all know what the added cost is, because we don't know. I'd like to know that.
I understand, but it just seems like you're asking a little, it just seems like we've got some time here to still project these forecasts, so.
All right, the roll right now is the 2019 budget.
That's just a general question. I know it's not gonna be in the budget, but I think we all owe some idea of what the projected future costs are gonna be to maintain that library addition.
I agree if it was to impact next year.
What's the transition plan for under construction? How are we gonna proceed with that building when you're under construction?
May I respond to that again, Marcia McLaughlin?
Yes, you may.
The library staff has come up with a transition plan. However, it's not anything that we thought was germane to a budget committee meeting. We did not come prepared to answer any of these questions that have been raised so far. We can certainly put something together for whomever wants to see it at some point in time. We'd be more than happy to do that.
I would actually love to see that. Thank you, John Camacho.
We will work on it, John.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the library? At this time, no? Okay, Denise, thank you very much. If there's any questions, we'll get back to you. Okay? Thank you. The chief here? Well, oh.
Yep.
Surprising. He's got a check. He's got 5 days. Right.
Hi, Karen. Would you drink the water from the bathroom? Okay, just checking.
I think I have a bottle.
Oh, no. I'll just go fill it. No, I'll just go fill it.
So you say we don't need to talk to the building inspector? Excuse me? We don't need to talk to the building inspector?
I thought they said it's flat, yeah.
Okay. We're not talking.
Let's cut it.
It's not to cut.
Let's cut it.
Bob, since we've got a little lull here,
Yes.
you know, you're supposed to reinstitute, you're supposed to revote on chairman or vice chairman, I imagine, right? This is a new meeting, a new year. We haven't done that.
Yara, you want to answer that question?
I didn't hear the question. I will hear it.
We haven't voted on a chairman or vice chairman for this year, right? This is a new meeting, new year.
Yes, if the board needs to reorganize, yes, that should be done.
So I think it's just a technicality.
Okay.
Who doesn't want to do it? I make a motion, the chairman and the co-chairman remain the same. Bob Brasco and
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done. Thank you.
There you go. Now it's official.
Hey Karen, I've blown through this a couple times, I've seen it. What's the bench in that?
Yeah, I saw that.
That
too.
is the netting, the stations.
Yeah. Bus.
When Sharon comes back in, she can explain it, but
Oh, that's for recreation?
it's for recreation for the
Okay,
fields
that's-
as safety shelters.
Okay.
What field?
I believe Maloney.
Maloney?
All right. I saw that a couple times, I keep forgetting about it, I go, as far as I know, Coast isn't coming.
Yeah.
Right, so is Public Works here too? Is Paul here?
Can we do public works?
He left too?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Paul's here.
He's not there, right?
Ralph? No.
No, okay.
I just shut him.
All right, now we're gonna go to Public Works. Paul Hayden.
He was here.
Go with the radio.
There you are, they're looking for you.
Ready?
Yes, you're on, Paul. No smoking in the ball field.
That's what I was looking at, I saw the smoke here as first thing, I go, wow.
Before we get started, there's a question on the table that Sharon can answer. You wanna ask her?
Yeah, the bus stop thing, is the smoking lounge.
What?
The shelters.
Budget for $12,000 on recreation.
Oh, we
Covers the
didn't,
shelter
look,
and-
that was just an example. She went online to try and
Right.
get an idea. We're not going with those
Well,
guys.
we didn't know
Relax.
that. It's
No, I just asked for smoking.
That's why we
Smoking.
No.
You lost me smoking at a ball field when I came in.
We just, all right.
Okay, Paul, go ahead.
All right. Since I last spoke with the town, I do actually need 2 increases, nothing major, on vehicle maintenance and repairs. I was advised the other day that the tires are getting a little worn out on the dump truck, so I'll need a set of tires for that this coming March. So we had 2,000 put down. I'd like to add, I'll say 2,000, 6 tires. Bring that up to 4. Then, just like Tyra is explaining with the fuel, I'm actually gonna go over a little bit this year on my amount of fuel I used. So I'd like to go add 1,000 to that, so from 4 to 5.
How are you calculating that, Paul?
By gallons.
What about, no, I mean, as far as the dollar, what dollar rate are you, what rate are you using?
I just go by what Karen puts in my report every month.
What is it?
Huh? I don't have it with me.
What's the rate per gallon?
He uses the Wex card
I use
as
the Wex
well.
card also.
So it varies depending on the day.
Okay, but you have an average, what's the average? You had to come up with $4,000, how did you come up with $4,000?
That's what we've been doing for the last 2 years.
Well, can we be a little bit more accurate on that?
Karen, would you have that information?
I can calculate out your average per month, sure.
Well, the average, we're gonna use the cents per gallon.
Right,
All right, now mine's gonna be a little bit different.
because
You're using
it's,
I'm using unit diesel, which
That's
is,
perfectly okay.
and lots of gas cans.
All right, that's,
Yeah.
that's
That's the part that each summer, like twice a season, he has to fill up a lot of cans, and that's,
I mean, theoretically, it could be more or it could be less.
correct.
Okay,
But
so-
this year, because of all the rain, I didn't have any downtime with mowing this year. So I used a lot more gas than I've ever done in the mowers.
Are you consistently using the Wex card?
Oh, yes.
All right, so you have the information available because they send you the detail.
They send it to Liz, yes.
Okay, so you should be able to calculate that. Somebody should be able to calculate
Yeah.
that out. based
But
on the
I
current
just-
prices.
I am going over this year according to the information Karen gives me every month.
Okay, so let's take a look at the cents per gallon before we go any further on this. I want to kind of see how it calculates.
All right.
Okay?
Question while it's on that same subject. Mowers.
Yeah.
How often do you mow the 3 fields, Paul?
Twice a week,
Twice a week?
Mondays and Fridays.
That's all 3 fields, right?
Casual field as needed, but the other 2 every
Field,
twice a week.
Maloney.
Those are always twice a week.
Okay, just one more question, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just,
We're
I know, vehicle maintenance, you have actual to 10:30 or 5:33. Is there any more expenditures going to be at that line?
okay.
inspection.
Which one are you on,
I'm
John?
on the vehicle maintenance and repairs. You show 533.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that should include vehicle maintenance inspection.
That's the actual up to date. Are you going to be spending any more money
I-
on that line item?
I spent quite a bit. It probably hasn't shown on this line item
Okay.
yet for parts on a backhoe.
Okay, I just want to know if you're going to be spending any
Yeah.
more, so that's okay.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Care of trees. I thought that the trees was all taken care of at the cemetery, or is this the town?
This is town's, it has nothing to do with cemetery at all.
Right. So if I have a tree go down, I call you?
Well, you call usually the police department calls me.
Okay.
I had one tonight.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, this is just a thought. Okay, you got a budget, which is the bottom line budget. You have money. Are you going to be spending all the money based on that budget this year? Or are you going to have money left over on that?
I should have some money left over.
Why can't you buy the tires from that? Why go the next year and do it this year?
I could,
You just put it up, you're going to be over one, and you're going to be under in the other ones.
yeah. Trees are,
totally unexpected, which is one of my big costs. Care of trees,
You have engineering expenses.
engineering, we've been using that quite a, we haven't been, that doesn't
The
include my
engineering,
roads.
It's a zero.
Not out of there, no.
Oh, that.
There's a $5,000 engineering line in there.
Why don't you just buy the tires this year?
I could do that.
And whatever you need this year, do it this year. Why put it in next year? It's budgeted, use it.
Karen, what is that engineering used for if it's not for roads?
It's for roads, but that's not where, we haven't had any road engineering done other than Hillside, and Hillside had a warrant article that we were working off of.
Doesn't Bayside Road, wouldn't some of that money that we?
I know it hasn't charged us for those updates.
All right.
So do we expect to spend any money on any of these line items that's not on as of 10:30?
At this point, I would say no.
Okay, then get your tires.
All right.
I don't know if anybody else cares, but does that make sense?
All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Keep the.
As long as we need them.
Huh?
Oh, no, yes.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
3 years.
I have a question. Chester Duraki, Osprey. How many miles are on that truck? And when did we get it? Year and a half?
Well, it'll be 3 years this March, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's got
Right before I got elected.
12,000.
12,000.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of miles for a set of tires.
Yeah. If you look at the front tires and stuff, well, I was planning on next year, so that's why I said on this budget, so I wasn't gonna do it till next summer.
Okay.
But if they want them now, using this budget, I'll do that.
If you need them, I think you just said, but.
Well, I was planning,
Just an observance.
yeah, by next year, I was thinking that I definitely need them. And that's
Don't
why,
need them this year.
well, if they want me to buy them this year,
I need them this year is the question, I guess.
I think I can get through to next year, that's why I put it in for that the way I did.
Sounds good.
Well, this money goes into, what's the year, the fiscal year it goes to?
Calendar.
It's a calendar
Okay.
year, so December, this money's for December.
Yeah.
Am I reading this right, 16,000? It says total highway and street, 16,000 available to the end of the year, is that right?
On highways and streets, yes, that's not solid waste, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to figure if I'm reading the right lines. Okay,
That was the last quarter, Randy.
so we have a quarter to go.
Yeah, that quarter was all.
Yeah.
Right. The question would be, if you're gonna need the tires, you can buy the tires, right, this year. And then
Install them next year.
Install them next year.
Yeah,
I can do that also.
put them in the bond.
Yes, I'll be putting them in the bond. Okay, thank you for your help on that one.
You're welcome.
I wouldn't have guessed.
Any surprises coming from you for warrant articles?
Yes. I don't know which. I did from the selectmen asked for a full-time helper instead of a part-time.
Oh, yeah.
Which they did change that to a warrant article.
Okay.
And I think that's on page.
It's not in there at all,
Not in yet.
because we're not doing warrant articles yet.
Oh, okay.
We're not doing warrant articles.
Okay, sorry about that.
Bob's just trying to trick you out.
Okay, I need to get that back on. Yes.
I have 3 questions, I suppose.
Where are you?
Well, right now, I'm under building maintenance, that's my first question. It says replacement of bottom panel. Do we have a cost if that's gonna?
That was the $2,500.
So it's gonna cost $2,500 to replace that.
Yeah, that is one of the garage doors out here at the old highway garage.
Okay, so if it's gonna be, my question then is probably, not sure you have enough in that budget, but.
It's just the bottom panel only, the rest of the door is fine.
Okay. But that doesn't leave any money, any other money for any other building maintenance?
That's just for that, that was the $2,500 we put in there just for that door.
Oh, okay, that's fine, if that's all you
Yep.
need, that's fine with me. Okay, my next question, and I guess, Paul, I thought you made a comment that care of trees was one of your big expenses, but I don't see it, not based on history.
It's one of the biggest unknown expenses.
Unknown.
Right.
I have no, actually, this month, there is one scheduled to be taken down to $1,800.
Okay,
And that's with winter coming, with hopefully nothing comes down across the roads or anything like that.
One of my concerns on that line, and when the time comes, I'll probably make a motion, is that in 2015, we spent $0. In 2016, we spent $480. In 2017, we spent $1,725. And we keep budgeting $5,000 a year, and I just have difficulty budgeting money that history shows we don't need. So, anyway. And then my last question is engineering expense. Same thing. We have $5,000 budgeted. We haven't spent it over at least the last 3 years, 15, 16, 17, not even close. What do we have planned that we're gonna need $5,000 for? Because if we don't have anything, I can't see budgeting $5,000 for.
We do have a big project coming up, which most of that would probably be on a warrant article. Without surprises, the biggest thing for surprises with the engineering, for what I do, would be culverts.
Right, okay.
And we had just 2 last year, and at this point, nothing that's, hurt me on the engineering for that.
Right, okay. Those are my questions.
Just to let you know exactly what happens with the trees. If we have a bad storm and we have 2 or 3 trees go down, it's up to Paul to take care of it. So it's unknown how much it's gonna cost.
Understood.
One thing too, all the clearing they did a couple of years ago has really saved us a lot of that too.
That's Serenity Cove, the $1,800 one?
Pardon me?
Serenity Cove, is that one down yet or not?
No, that's scheduled for, I think it is Tuesday the 20th.
So that's the $1,800 one you're coming
Yeah.
down?
That's a big tree.
Yeah.
The difficulty I have in the idea of, well, if this happens, it could be a big expense. Well, you could say that on many lines.
Well, I mean, all of our tree work that I handle is basically from storms.
Right.
And, I mean, we have no control over that whatsoever, so it's a guessing game.
Yeah, I understand.
Any other questions for Paul at this point? No? Okay, Paul, thank you. I just got a message. What? I just got a message. No, I just got a message from Vaughn that he texted Vaughn that Ralph, fire department won't be here. So we'll have to see him at a later date. Okay? So, last but not least, Karen. General government, please.
Yep, back to the beginning. Under executive, the wages have been budgeted at 2.75%. There are no surprises at all for the executive. The total variance is $5,132, which is a 2.37, which equates to the wages, basically.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Just generally, what's the thought process on 2.75? Why 2.75?
The Board of Selectmen looked at what the CPI was and compared that to what was being given out at the state, was one of the comparisons that were brought out. So they started at 1.5, they talked about 3, they ended up agreeing at 2.75.
I'm getting at 2.8.
Cut it.
We've already done town clerk tax collector, so then we go to page 9, election administration. There is only one election for 2019. So that budget is reduced from the 11,399 down to the 9,200. it fluctuates up and down, basically for the election workers, based on the number of elections. The supervisors and the voting machine, the voting machine is fluctuated too. Ballot printing only happens for the town election, so that stays stable regardless of the number of elections.
You have any problems at election time, did you?
I am not involved in the elections, I was not made aware of any.
Should ask Mark, he's not involved.
Just talking.
But you can talk to the selectmen, because they were there too.
I was curious about the machines and stuff.
No, I wasn't made aware of anything, and our machines are tested the day before and gone off through.
No problem with the machine whatsoever.
They do a good job with it.
The only problem was that we got all wet. And then.
Okay, and we move on to page 11, accounting.
Can we go back to page 6?
Absolutely.
So, under staff development and consultants, my question would be, why should we budget money that we never spend?
Under staff development this year, it had been reserved early in the year by an employee that was going to take some college classes, and that has not happened to date. So that was put a froze on. I don't know what the status is for next year. And consultants, we were fortunate we didn't need to do any accounting or recruitment studies. I believe that may actually be used before the end of this year.
What's that, Mark?
Yep.
Back to 11, that's accounting and financials. You see a decrease on the first page of $32,000. That is under assessing and tax billing. Last year was the revaluation, so that was an increase. And the revaluation is complete, and everybody's seeing the results of that over the past few days.
Yes, we have. It's called an increase.
For some, and others had decreases. The average increase to a property was 14%. About 300 properties actually saw a decrease in their tax bill. The average of between 900 and 1,000, and we have 1,700 properties, between 900 and 1,000 people had increases between $500 and $750. And that was pretty much the average. And then there's a percentage, much smaller percentage that had an increase greater than $750. It depended on the sales in your neighborhood where you were assessed at. The higher value properties had the smaller increases, and some of those actually saw tax decreases because the market has changed for that. They kind of topped out where they're selling at. The smaller houses, the ranches, are basically doubling in value.
Really?
So
it's not smart.
it's the market that goes through. As we were doing the reval, we had brought the values to 100%. We're now starting to see sales that are still happening 5 and 6% higher than the assessed value.
Wow.
So values in Greenland continue to rise.
That's because everybody wants to go with their school system.
Because it's a wonderful town to live and work in.
Thank you, that's right.
I've got no changes recommended in the rest of assessing for the mapping and the GIS update. Computer programs is a small decrease of $1,300. And that was a savings on Vision, the software. We're no longer required to pay to have our static database, which is something that we used to have to pay the extra for. So that's been reduced.
Okay, what page are you on, Karen?
Right now I'm on 13.
Okay.
If I'm going too fast, just tell me to put the brakes on.
That's good, thanks.
What, can I just ask with the mapping GIS update, did you just say what that was?
That is, we're required to do annual updates every year to our maps. And prior, we only did the maps and we didn't have GIS on our website. So we started the GIS process. We had it in 2018. The selectmen authorized us to go ahead and do the GIS on the internet. So we spent the $52.50, and that will be the price again for the maps and the GIS. So people can go onto our town website, and there's an area with town maps, but there is a link that says GIS. You can click on that, put in your address, and you'll get the overview, the street view. You can see your property lines and how it fits onto vision, and your neighbors and assessed values and names and everything. Legal, we've kept flat at the 20,000 and the 10,000. We are overexpended in general legal now for 2018, which has been unusual because our legal expenses have been under control. But general legal, we've been using some legal advice to handle the Lonza expansion and a couple of other legal matters that have come up.
So we have something pending legally?
We have a current abatement case that has been brought to Superior Court rather than the Board of Tax and Land Appeals, so that we have to use a lawyer for that.
Who's our town lawyer?
Peter Laughlin.
It is Peter Laughlin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The next page.
Well,
Okay.
Can we go back to
Yep.
legal planning and ZBA,
Mhm.
and answer that question? What, could that line just as easily be a $5,000 request as a $10,000 request?
Potentially it could. I've always tried, we've reduced this last year to bring it down further. The concern is if you have a matter that, and our budget is public, our budget is out in the hallway. So if you have a planning or zoning matter and they see that you've only got $5,000 in legal expenses, you may apt to encourage someone to really challenge something if they don't know that you can really put up a fight. So it's not smart to reduce your legal funds. And right now, because general is over and will continue to go over, it's going to stay within that category. You don't want to have to settle something because you don't have the money to fight it.
You don't have a legal fund.
That is the legal
No,
fund.
it is, an expenditure, like in,
A capital reserve fund?
yeah,
for it?
capital reserve.
No, this is it.
Okay, yeah, it's not much.
The next page, 15, is the big one, that's personnel administration. There's an increase of $70,901. Primarily, that is health insurance. We had a 10.5% increase in our health insurance this year.
How much?
10.5.
That's a lot.
Last year, we had a decrease, I know. And the New Hampshire retirement rates went down. The group two for the police only went down a fraction of a percent, 29.43 to 28.43. And then for group one, the rate went from 11.38 to 11.17. So that's just a teeny fraction. But what it has, there still shows an increase overall because we had positions that was only a half year. Well, they were budgeted for the 9 months, and so we've had to fill the retirement for the full year. So that includes 1 police officer and 2 firefighters, that the budget was only for 9 months.
Are these participant numbers down here?
Yes, they are.
3 and 10? Yeah.
Correct. And there's no change from last year.
Can you kind of explain the sick time for insurance?
The sick time for insurance, I actually have a reduction that I'm going to present to you this now. We can reduce that to $19,750 for 2019. It's a small reduction, but it's a result of
19,000 what?
$19,750.
Okay. What's that?
Sick time
Sick
for
time
insurance.
for insurance.
One of the benefits that the town offers employees is if you have an excess in sick leave, you can sell back, as long as you maintain 32 hours on the book, you can sell back sick leave to the town at its face value to pay your 12% of the health insurance.
Okay.
It does 2 things. It's a benefit to the employee that they're not taking that weekly cash or bi-weekly cash out of their pocket. It's a benefit to the town because it reduces that.
They can use it to reduce their.
They can use it to reduce what they're paying, but it reduces our liability at retirement time. They're allowed to cash out at retirement 240 hours. And so by offering this, they're using it as they're going along at their current dollar, instead of waiting until they're at retirement and we're cashing out 240 hours at the higher rate. So it's a benefit both ways.
On insurance, the cost share,
Yes. 12%.
right. Just a general question, that can be changed though, correct?
That is a policy of the Board of Selectmen, and it can be changed as part of the personnel policy, yes.
Okay.
You know, the insurance health companies offer any incentives to discount insurance, like wellness plans, prevention plans,
They do.
wear a Fitbit?
Yes.
They do?
Yeah, they do.
Yep, and we use Health Trust. Amy Bauer is our wellness coordinator. So each year, through Health Trust, she gets a grant for $500 that we've used in various ways. We've had healthy cooking classes, we've done hydration challenges.
But will they take that, will the insurance companies take that in consideration when?
Yes.
With the rate?
Yep,
Okay.
and they also offer us a smart shopper program so that you can reduce your cost for health insurance by getting, say, you getting your mammogram at this hospital versus that one, because this one's more expensive.
So, but also, Randy, my wife is under that, and she goes to the Y 3 times a week for free.
Free, yeah, nice.
Right, which ultimately reduces your health insurance because it reduces your rating.
Nice.
Unfortunately, this is the page that there's not a lot.
No, you can't.
It's scary. Planning and zoning is just a flat budget. Total office, general government buildings, these are the utilities. There's reduction in maintenance of town property down to 4,800, because the planning for this upcoming year is the LED light conversion. That's 9,236. We will get the rebate, which will show in revenue of $2,540 from Eversource with, and the estimate is very generous at 3.5 years. And that's the same time frame that they told us for street lighting, which when we were doing the public works department with Paul, really wasn't pointed out as a big savings. Street lighting, we had traditionally been budgeting it at $17,000. I've reduced that budget now conservatively to $14,000, but through 10/30, this is our first year on the LED, we're still under $9,000 in streetlights. And granted, the last 2 months are always the darkest and the most expensive, they come on sooner, but there may still be some room right there. The savings has been half, each bill has basically been half of what it used to be. And the comments from the residents have been very positive. Converting the town office and hopefully the police station by LED, it will be smart controls so that when somebody leaves a room and after a few minutes or a few seconds as it's set, the lights will go on. They won't be these fluorescent lights that were consistently changing ballasts and bulbs. We changed 4 lights in that one today alone. And now we have 2 more out here. These are old fixtures, they're not efficient, so.
Can I ask a question to Randy, actually? Randy, do you know if the school is planning on implementing LED, if they already have, or if they're?
We already did a few years ago, but the new engineering proposal is to increase, is to actually, is gonna involve LED lighting. And there's some rebates involved, that's why I had asked earlier.
Yep.
Yeah, it's in that.
It's in this folder.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there any projections when you intend to start that project of replacing the lights?
We have to obviously wait until March to see if the budget or the warrant article, as it ends up being, whichever passes. And then it's probably a 6 to 8 week process for whoever gets that started then. Utilities are pretty self-explanatory, yes?
What page are you on, 20?
I'm on, 1920, yes?
talk a little bit about the police power lights?
We've been budgeting them for the last 2 years at $7,000, $6,990. So 17 came in at 4280. We're at 3267. We'll probably come right around the same thing, 42 to 5,000 for 18 as well.
What's that, Mark?
Yeah. Just a general comment, the budget on public works buildings electricity seems high to me.
Yeah,
It does
I think
on
there is
oil
some,
and
there
gas
is
as
some
well.
room in there.
Both,
Without,
both of them seem like they have room in them, oil and gas and electricity.
We have historical average there though on the next page.
right, but
Well, the 3-year average for electricity is 38.50, and the 3-year average for public works buildings gas is 23.33. So I'm wondering, why should we expect that much more in those two areas?
right, and what I did is I did not change them from the year before.
Okay, thanks.
Where'd you see those averages, Mark? 3-year average?
I got 38.50 for electricity and 23.33 for gas.
Thanks.
Next page is cemeteries and trustee of the trust funds. They submitted their budgets both as flat budgets. And those are handled by elected trustees of the trust funds and elected cemetery trustees. So they're not budgets that are reviewed by the Board of Selectmen.
Is that the stipend we voted on last year? Trustees of the trust fund?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
So if we had a question on their budget, who would we talk to?
The elected officials.
Thank you.
Next page is municipal insurances. Our liability and general insurance is through Connex. We have a contract with a maximum increase of 9% of the prior year. On that, we actually have a decrease of 3.18%. On our workers' comp, we have a max increase of 10% of the prior year. This shows an increase of 10.62, and that's not based on, it's not a 10.62% rate increase. It's a like 9.6% rate increase. It shows higher because it's based on the total payroll. And so it's as the payroll increased, the cost increased as well. Unemployment compensation, we self-fund ourselves. We just keep the line at $10.
Keep it open.
Keep it open. We've only had a few people ever apply for unemployment compensation, and we've covered it through their salary line or wage line. Rockingham Planning Commission, their increase is to $4,034. They base it on the population estimate through the state, which for Greenland now is $3,628 at $1.05 per person. And municipal associations is the New Hampshire Municipal Association. And I don't have their new rate, so I've budgeted back on, oh, I did, no, that is their new rate, okay, $4,551. And the town does get a lot of benefits from New Hampshire Municipal Association. It's a free legal hotline that several elected officials have taken advantage of. They have trainings for the selectmen, for budget committee, for land use. Our land use boards attend them on a regular basis. Their annual conference is tomorrow, which I'll be attending with Selectman Ralston, and I believe a trustee of the trust fund is also attending. And they have various things to bring you up to date on what's happened legislatively throughout the year. So general government, the overall increase is 41,327 for a 2.79%.
That's discretionary though, the municipal association fee, it's not,
That's a flat number,
yeah, I'm saying it's discretionary though, it's a choice. It's
It
a
is a
choice
choice.
we chose.
absolutely.
Okay. Any questions for Kevin?
I have a general question. So where are we gonna end up end of this year?
Where are we gonna end up at the end of this year? If we don't get any snow,
Knock on wood.
snow is overspent, but we have 106,000 left in salt. So if we get just a 1 or 2 storm, we'll be absolutely fine because the salt money will compensate. We have salt in storage now. If we get a blizzard, we're in trouble. But other than that, we should end, where I'm looking right now, is because we budgeted for 2 fire lieutenants, that the chief has had a very difficult time trying to fill. So we have some funds available from that for their benefits that we had budgeted for. So there are some funds available on that. Ballpark, I think we will have 250,000 that we will be able to turn back, which is in comparison to last year, we ended with like 36,000,
Yeah.
which is much too small.
Do you have any ballpark idea of what the savings were on the fire personnel that we didn't, those benefits that we saved? to have them?
Yes. 54,000 we have available in their health insurance alone. The Board of Selectmen authorized to transfer 10,000 of that last night to the fire department for equipment. There was quite a bit of damage to fire equipment during the fire that was on Portsmouth Ave. We're expecting a $10,000 insurance refund for some of the damaged things, which hasn't come through yet, but the board has authorized a $10,000 transfer so the chief can buy some of the planned equipment that he hasn't been able to buy as a result of the fire. So there's roughly 40 in that, and there's the retirement funds. I would say there's about 24,000 in retirement. The full-time wages, there'll be some left, but what's have to happen is the part-time wages are well overspent, because we had to use part-time help because he wasn't able to fill the full-time help. So. Yeah, he only has in his regular budget remaining $28,000. So we've transferred another 10 so that he can even make his payrolls.
Yeah, can I ask you a question? So you're saying that those 2 lieutenants last year were never hired, is that correct? Okay, just checking.
Yeah,
And
he's tried and,
No, I know. It's hard. It's low unemployment, I get it. But, so the selectmen have to vote on moving that money from the fire, from one line item to another? Or he can just request that?
He has requested it in an individual, and it's basically every town has their own policies. Within the town of Greenland, the department head is allowed to spend their budget based on their bottom line.
Okay.
So if they have a piece of equipment that fails and they want to replace that equipment, but they're not going to go to this conference, they're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Within their bottom line.
What about a department that has a surplus and another department that's in the arrears? Can the selectmen then move that
The
money from one?
selectmen can. Yes.
Okay.
And that has happened many times.
I know.
And it happens, unfortunately, it happens that they have to give it to me for snow plowing. When we've had these bad winters, I end up asking the selectmen, can we freeze the following purchases so that we end in the black?
Right. Just because I had questions as I
approached you about
Yeah.
from town folks, so.
Yes, on the sign, correct.
For clarification, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and I can explain it to the rest of the committee so that they're aware of it. The board did approve the purchase of a new sign for the front of the building. Last year, we had budgeted the replacement of the sign because it needed to be replaced, but we had budgeted that at $5,000 to replace in kind what was there. After discussions and reviews with the Board of Selectmen looking at various options, the board approved replacing the sign with what is out there now. Is just the top part of it, and there'll be an LED panel underneath so that the words can be changed inside. They won't be the plastic ones that we go out and slide up and down and limit us to, abbreviating things to fit on the two
You'll love
rows.
it. Yeah, it's just like the St. Pat's School, exact same
Yes.
thing.
Um, Basically, it's not gonna have other colors, it's gonna be just the black with
One
the
button,
amber.
yeah.
There's no scrolling, no blinking,
Right.
just,
You go to the planning board on that?
we
We didn't have to
got this-
because it's already approved by the planning board.
The planning board did not approve that.
Planning board's in their regs.
The
can do
planning
it.
board ordinances don't allow neon signs, and this is an LED.
It's an LED, yeah.
So we were okay, and
Nice
the
try,
size
Jackie.
is perfect.
I just think that the real question is, the bottom line budget was more the question I received. They were using, for an example,
Yes.
the lieutenants that were not hired versus.
No,
other
what we were able
items.
to do
Yes.
is, we used it from the same line item of general government maintenance,
Mhm.
general building maintenance.
Mhm.
We had anticipated the propane gas line to be extended from the Bramber Valley subdivision over here so that we could put in a propane heating system for this building, rather than our electric on the ceiling heating
Yeah.
system.
You don't like that?
No, I don't like those. Your feet are always cold and your head is hot, but that's okay. And that hasn't been done yet, and we had budgeted that heating element replacement.
Okay, I didn't want you to have to rehash it, I just wanted
That's okay,
clarification
yep.
because.
Yeah, we
Next
didn't
time we
borrow
get
from
the
one
question.
department to another.
That did not happen.
That did not happen.
Okay, thank you.
Karen, can you explain to me, the fund balance, there's an ambulance fund where we get the insurance and it goes into that particular fund, what that is typically used for?
That is the ambulance fund is used for purchases for the fire department. It was established for fire equipment. I think fire and ambulance equipment and vehicles, not for staffing. So we've used it last year we used it for replacing the air packs for the office, for the whole fire department. This year, the intent is to use a bunch of it to get a second set of gear for the firefighters. With all of the knowledge and learning that's coming about carcinogens that are on fire gear once it's been used.
Dangerous.
Right now, we don't have the ability to wash it immediately, so our firefighters have had to continue to use it until they get the chance to go to another station and have it cleaned. So the chief is looking at getting a second set so that while one set is out being cleaned properly, they'll have a set to use. We've used it to buy an ambulance a couple of years ago.
So, could you go back and explain to me what equipment we just bought for the fire department?
We bought
They
air
had
pack
replaced?
bottles.
Okay. So, you said that there's some equipment that was damaged in the fire. When they use this account, could they use this account to buy that?
Yes, they could,
Okay, why would they not use that account?
because the chief is anticipating using it for this purpose.
Okay. Do we know what the balance is in that account?
Off the top of,
Yeah, I
yes,
do.
I pulled it a little earlier today. I'm gonna say 107.
$106.
106.
Okay. Thank you.
There's questions. At first, sorry to hear the news today, by the way, and thank you for your service to the town.
I appreciate
I
that.
appreciate you staying here with us during the budget cycle. We can all have some fun together. So quick question. So, do you know what the projections are for the budget this year? Are we gonna be under budget?
Yeah, that's the one that I just talked about. I expect that if things go well without any additional snow, we should end with over 200,000.
And do you know what we gave the town last year?
What we gave the town last year.
What did
We only,
return?
32,000.
Return to the town? Oh, it's 32? Yeah.
The year before that, there was a big number, right?
Yeah, last year was, it was a hold your breath with the last electric bill, yeah.
And I know we have reserve funds, right, in the town? What are they? And I was curious what the balances are.
Currently, we have 1.5 million in unassigned fund balance. The Board of Selectmen used 250,000 of that this year to reduce the tax rate.
Karen, I think it was 150.
Oh, 150, thank you. Used 150,000 of that to reduce the tax rate.
So we still have about 1.5 million balance though?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they used 150 based on, we're pretty confident that we'll have at least 150 to put back into it. And that maintains our balance at 8% of the operating budget for the entire, not the town, not just the town budget. The recommendation from the Department of Revenue is that you maintain 8%, no less than 8% of your town, county, school. And so that keeps us at that.
30%, yeah. And is that the only reserve fund the town has?
For, like an unassigned fund balance, yes. We have capital reserve accounts for various purposes. We have a capital reserve fund buying police bulletproof vests. We have one for transfer station equipment. But we have some that are all specific purposes that we save for.
Yeah, because we had some warrant articles, right?
Yes, that we do every year.
Are they in here, the balances in here?
No, I will put those balances when I get to the point where we're doing warrant articles. If we're adding to or withdrawing, I will put what the current balance is. Because they can only be most of them can be withdrawn through a town warrant article or Board of Selectmen.
We even know what you have in your account.
Yeah. Not as much as the town. Wish we had
Hope not.
Wish we had the town money.
Could I just ask you a question? I need to ask you this, Randy, because you're talking about two different functions here. Okay, I get a tax bill, and this isn't separated between town and school. It's a town tax bill. Okay, so can we be on the same team?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Well, because you kept saying about, I wish we had that. You're talking about the school, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
So Bob can make a comment to me and I can make a comment back.
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. That's fine. It's just that I just get this feeling that we're on two different sides here, sitting on the same table.
I don't have that impression, Bob. But
Well, I do.
Sorry you do.
Any other questions for Karen? No? Karen, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate all the input that you've given us. Is there any other business? I was gonna ask that question. How come we didn't do
Well,
recreation?
because I usually do recreation, welfare,
I had a
human services.
Of course.
Yeah, you can vote.
Yeah. It was answered.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, we wondered about the
Good.
bus stop.
I don't see any bus stop or smoking booth on our budget, so I don't know what you're talking
No, I
about.
don't see.
But I do have a question for Karen. Yep, since the recreation department was 100% volunteer, what's that part-time labor?
That is Paul's helper.
Oh, Paul.
Paul's helper.
Thank you.
Well, it is in this budget, the warrant article for the full-time helper is a raise and appropriate the amount necessary for the 9 months, less this 8,100 for the part-time helper. So that if the warrant article did not pass, he would not be out with nobody.
Okay.
Because then we would be in a world of
No,
hurt.
that's fine. We don't have, the rec department doesn't have control
No,
of
you
this
don't.
budget,
Nope.
really. The only thing, there's only a few items. The contracted services, I don't know what makes up that 7,900. Would
Contracted-
you happen to know?
I would.
Good.
Contracted services is the irrigation people that come.
Oh, okay.
And,
Okay, it's only irrigation.
no, it's also biospray to do,
Yeah, I know, this, to spray bios.
Spray,
Yeah.
spray bios, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
but it's primarily,
Irrigation or
irrigation work.
Why was it twice what it had been? Do you know? For 17. Do you have any idea why that?
Yes.
Was that the year of the leak?
No, that wasn't the year of the leak, that was the year of electrical work with lights on Casco Field.
Okay, thank you. I had no idea what made
When
that
we have
up.
to replace bulbs on that, we intentionally wait until there's 2 or 3.
Okay.
Because it's very expensive, we have to hire a company
Yeah.
that has a bucket truck.
Okay.
LED.
I have asked for a price on that as well.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Can I ask my question now?
Yes.
According to the revolving fund, you have $74,000 in there.
Yeah.
What's the plan, and how are you gonna use that money?
Well, you've asked the same question last year, and
Yeah.
the year before, and I always go to Karen for that, because she's got the technical words for that.
It revolves in and out. At any point in time, right now, like you had me pull the money as of right now it's high.
Yeah.
Higher than average. We've just had a bazillion people sign up to play basketball. So all that is in.
And we haven't paid some bills that haven't come in yet.
Right, there's
because we
bills,
just
but then
started.
when the basketball season gets close to end, that's when we get the bills for all the t-shirts and the medals and the referees and all that. So on average, there's a $50,000.
And the other reason why
You
it's
know?
so high is because we have an awesome recreation department, just in case you guys didn't know.
Excuse me.
Brian Paffer did an amazing job. I want this on record. He did an amazing job elevating the rec department, am I right?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. And we're just continuing what he started. And we just started an adult program, so it over here, yes,
Pickleball.
I know what it's all about.
enormously popular.
Yeah, it is.
I had to turn away a lot of ladies and they were not happy.
Oh, we were getting calls from all over the
Where you
state.
gonna play that?
We've already started.
Where?
In the multi-purpose.
You started a trend, Sharon, is what you started.
Yeah, and it all started with a selectman suggesting we paint the tennis courts down at Caswell
Well,
with pickleball
I
lines.
think,
So we
yeah,
did.
there was a
And
group of ladies who already play in Greenland.
build them and they will come.
And they want to do it in the winter.
They've done that in Exeter.
And I just want to point out, we do have another program for young and old. We rent the Puddle Dock skating rink twice a year. Just want to put that out there so you can mark it on your calendars, but don't ask me the date because I don't remember. But it'll come out on that awesome LED sign. Right, Karen?
Yes, it will.
Keep playing
So-
Jamie right now.
Not neon,
The one that the
LED.
planning board got upset, but they already allowed it to go up.
Okay, so if we jump back to Health and Human Services.
No, hold on.
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
not done with recreation.
Okay.
Okay. The balance in the revolving account, it's been averaging about a balance of 50, 60, probably 60,000.
Yeah, because its
Okay,
first 2
when I was
years
on
it brought revenue in and.
So is
it
there any
wasn't
plans other than first of all, is there any plans to use that because it's been sitting there forever?
Well, that's not entirely true. The money's coming in and out. I just took over the last year and a half, roughly, and things are coming up. We need a lot of work on those fields, but they are capital investments. We don't know if we can use that funds, is that correct? But we are talking about utilizing those
But,
funds.
I mean, that's my real question.
Right, the way the warrant article was written and the way the statute reads for revolving funds. And this was set up, a revolving fund for recreational programs. So the revenue comes in for programs, can be spent out for programs.
Right.
It's kind of
budget's
tricky,
capital
and
assets.
it also says, the way it was written, any revenue coming in from rental of the fields goes into that fund. So the only other thing we take out of the fund, other than programming, is the electric lights for Crasco Field. Because the lights are basically primarily used by the men's softball league that rents the field. So that we feel like they're paying programs, so we can use that to pay their expense. But
Well,
you have to
Maloney
be
Field's
careful.
the same thing. I mean, that's used basically for town programs.
No, it's rented to
Rented to
it's Seacoast Lacrosse, I believe, is renting it. Portsmouth Youth Football rents it.
So the question really comes down to, and I think that we should come out with something definitive on how that money can be used, because we're letting it sit there. I know we're putting all the stuff in the budget, and I'm saying, all right, can you use some of that money to improve the fields, whatever it may be, because there's some improvements that certainly need to be made.
Right, and if you read any of the minutes, once I get into Karen, you'll see that we try to do a big overhaul on Caswell Field, but we couldn't find a contractor to do it, and that was the problem. We have this money, we have so many people. In the summertime, it's very difficult to get people together. You have to vote on everything. And by the time we went to the construction company that we like to use, or any construction company locally, they just didn't have time. Same thing with the fencing. There was back and forth whether Eversource was going to take out that fence, which was going to change our project. Then they didn't end up doing that when we thought they were. So things got kind of put on hold, if you will. And then once we were ready to move forward, we couldn't find anyone to do it in their time frame before the ground freezes. And that's an issue. We get this approved in March, you won't see me until April 16th.
Right.
And we try and get things done, but it's difficult. Like I said, we're 100% volunteer, and it's all up to us to move on these things.
So what I'd like to do, and I was just thinking about this because I know there's a balance, and I know, the fields have to be maintained. You want to maintain.
Yeah.
Is there a way, for example, you have the 60,000 in there to use that, and is there any way, if we budget in March, if the town can pay that revolving account back?
No, the revolving fund can only take in revenue from programs. It's not a special reserve fund or capital reserve.
Right.
It's established under the statute for revolving fund.
I can tell you where that smoking hut came from. I was talking to Karen. The rec department wants a shelter at Maloney of some sort, and she was just giving me some suggestions. And when I showed it to the rec department, they all laughed as well.
Oh,
Said,
so that's not the type of shelter you were talking
about. No, they were like, and I said, she was just giving us some suggestions. We did like the netting and the pole structure that you did behind the soccer net. That one was a go, but we don't really know, and we're also talking to the Boy Scouts. They do a project every year, or an Eagle Scout project, which are wonderful, but we're trying to, we do want to do some improvements, but some of them are very expensive. And then you have to decipher when can you do it, and the timing is very key. You have to do it right when the school ends, before the summer programs start.
Who's the shelter for?
For me to smoke my cigarettes in. Well, actually, that wasn't abundantly clear. I was thinking it was for the team. It was like
my daughter played there for many years.
I know.
If there was a problem, we
weather,
went into our cars.
As most people do, but I think part of it is soccer plays rain or shine as long as there's no thunder and lightning.
Okay, if there's thunder and lightning, they go into the cars.
Well, the school doesn't necessarily have cars because the kids walk from the school. The school used that field too. So there aren't necessarily enough cars, and that is a concern.
Have you been over to the fields in Epping, that outdoor facility that they have in Epping?
I've been to some fields in Epping. I don't know which one you
It's
mean.
right behind the Buxton Oil. You drive like parallel to.
I should check.
Seacoast United one.
Seacoast United.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They have an incredible, structure there.
Oh, do they?
When it rains, everybody goes underneath.
We just, right, we need,
Yeah.
The one at
Right.
Scranton Park is the same way.
Yeah, it's,
so it's like a roof with no sides.
Right.
Right.
it's big. I mean,
Right.
they have.
We talked about that. The problem, the concern there was, will they protect anyone if there's lightning? And we don't want to waste the money, and we talk about this hour after hour, day after day. We don't really know what to do. And I know selectmen have kindly suggested that we hire or have someone come in who's a volunteer, who's an engineer. And that's even hard to do. And actually, we did that when we tried to expand the Maloney Field. One of our members of our rec department, Steve Sargent, gave endless hours on drawing up those plans for expansion. I understand where you're coming from, and I do appreciate your recommendations, but it's easier said than done.
Right.
When you actually try and have a group of people who not only are coming to these meetings and trying to spend our money and organize our fields and make them better, we're also running these programs, coaching all the kids. So I'm not complaining, but I just want people to understand where we're coming from.
Well, let me ask you a question, because we had 12,000 last year, we're not using it.
Right. that
We
was
didn't
very
use it
expensive.
because
Yeah,
we didn't have
you didn't
the
have it, I
opportunity to
agree.
get the fence in
So
time.
you have the 12,000 this year.
Right.
Okay, what's gonna happen this year?
Well, I'm hoping we can get in touch with Iowa Fuller to do the fence behind the goalpost. Since Eversource isn't moving that fence and everything lies on us, we want to widen that road for better parking, and then we want to level that slope at Maloney Field where cars just kind of ease into right center field on our softball field. So we have to have someone come in there and we talked about having we need some type of equipment to come in and level that. Either because we had a softball field up there, a fence, a rounded fence. We realized that was in the way of Portsmouth Youth football. The flag football or the actual football team were using that as like a practice field. So it made more sense to remove that rounded fence. So now we want to make sure we corral the cars and keep them off center field and left center field, which they tend to creep into.
I mean, I would like to, at least if you budget money, that we have a commitment somehow that it's gonna get done, rather than going.
Okay, this is just the second year we committed to this, and we have a pretty new recreation committee, a brand new
No, I'm just saying.
chairperson.
Do you commit to it, and it's committed that work's gonna get done? instead of
Well,
carrying over year to
well, I
year?
appreciate that.
I'm okay with that, but we've, you know.
This is just this was the first year this was the first year we budgeted for this fencing, and we went in front of people, but last year we just didn't get it done. It just didn't happen.
Well,
It's
that's
just
what I
one
mean.
year. It's not multiple years that we're not doing
That's what I wanna make
anything.
sure, is that we budget 12,000. I'd love to see it get done. I'm not against anything that you're trying to do.
I know, you're just saying get it done. I get it.
That's all, just, if you
Yeah,
make it,
sure.
this is it, get it done, kid. And then, instead of next year, we come back and say it wasn't done, which means.
You'll be talking to somebody else.
All right, you get it.
Yeah, my son's out of school.
All right, that's all I'm saying. We just want to get this done.
Well, if you want to help, we'll take you. You come on down, and give us a hand.
Retired.
Yeah, you're retired. We could use your help.
You never know.
Okay, moving on.
Health and Human
I
Services.
just have one question on the 12,000. Is this something you'll be able to do this year, or are you looking to do it next?
Isn't this the 19 budget?
Right, the 12,000 for the fencing, if you can get IFOLA to contract.
I think it's they can't get it on the
If
schedule.
he can contract it to be done in 19.
I didn't ask him that.
Contract it before 2012-31, we can encumber those funds.
That's what I
Like
was
the
looking at.
situation with the tires. I'll see what I can do.
Exactly.
Unless you want to call him. You're retired.
Right.
I'm
Health and
just
Human
teasing.
Services, page 51. Yeah, Health and Human Services. This first section is animal control and health officer. They're standard amounts. They are spent on a regular basis. Testing is something that is not necessarily spent every year. It's unknown whether or not a restaurant will have a power outage that refrigeration or anything needs to be tested, or water testing. So $20,100 for the kennel fees and mosquito control. $2,300 for total health administration. All of the health agencies have requested level funds this year. And the number of agencies continues to drop down as either they don't request their funds or they don't even request to have additional funds come in. We continue on to direct assistance, which is the welfare payments that we make to residents. It is flat budgeted at $18,802. I do expect 2018 to go over budget because I'm at 17.3 now. And with 2 more months and winter months, this is where we tend to have either more rent assistance or utilities that get tight. Property tax deferral, we level fund that will be spent with this, the next batch will come out after this last tax bill. And then all we have left is debt service and totals. So the debt service for 2019 does show the impact from the library bond and budget. And that's where we have the greatest increase in the budget. The overall budget increase throughout the entire departments is $364,376. And of that is 236, the variance, 236 of that 364 is associated with the library. Without the bond, the increase of the overall town budget is for the $4,458,000 budget, the increase is $140,224 for 2.87%. So it's a very responsible budget. Places that could be reduced were reduced, and places that needed to be increased were increased. The default budget, the difference in the default budget from the 2018 budget is $230,359. It's a smaller amount from the proposed budget, which may change or not. There's only a few changes to the default budget, which we are required to go over as a budget committee with the new law this year. So general government overall for the default would be a decrease of $29,623. And that is due to the full-time retirement from the new hires and the decrease from rebound. The fire department is, the increase would be $30,966 in the default, which is the positions that were for 9 months at 12 months, which is allowed by the law. Public Works is a decrease of $1,900. Last year we purchased is lower, and that was a one-time purchase. The Recreation is a decrease of $12,000 because the fencing, even if it gets spent or encumbered, it's still a one-time purchase and not allowed to be carried forward. And the Debt Service is the increase of $242,916. So now we have officially met the law and reviewed the budget committee, with the budget committee, the default budget.
So most of the increase in the default budget was the debt service.
Absolutely, and that is allowed by law. It's required by law. That's it.
Thank you very much. Before we close, is there any other business? I have one thing I want to bring up. I want to ask Randy, when are we going to get the school budget?
Yeah, the budget books are due on Wednesday, so if we get them done sooner, I'll send a note out to the board. They won't be here though, so Wednesday, I know it's Thanksgiving, so I don't know, Karen, what time is the office open till?
On Wednesday?
Next Wednesday.
Probably no later than 2. Usually the selectmen authorizes to close early at somewhere around 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, okay.
Once I get them, I will have, an email will be sent out to you to come pick them up as soon as possible, so you have a chance to look at them before we actually.
We have a meeting tomorrow night, we have another meeting on Monday, and so I expect them, hopefully we get them to you by Tuesday.
Okay, good, all right, thank you, Randy. Anybody else have anything? No, all set? Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Meeting closed at 9:05.